Happy Friday afternoon. We are closing in on one of the last Fridays of February. I'm going to be joined this afternoon by an awesome panel of guests to have a very good, frank conversation about diversity, inclusion, and equity in the Maryland craft beer industry and kind of in the craft beer industry nationwide. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I think that there's a lot in this talk that everybody in this industry and everybody who supports this industry can take away with them. I'm really looking forward to learning a lot and sharing some really cool stories with our group of panelists and hearing what they all have to say and learning about the perspectives that they can bring to this conversation. Before we get started and I introduce everybody, I would like to just remind everyone that we are still celebrating February. It is Maryland Craft Beer Lovers Month. Thank you for tuning into these talks. We're having a great time doing them. We hope that you're getting a lot out of them, and we hope that you're able to go and share some of your new knowledge or some of your new trivia maybe with friends of yours, and that you're able to continue supporting our breweries. Maryland's breweries are open for business all weekend long. I know it's going to be cold out there, so think about maybe scheduling a delivery or doing some curbside pickup if you don't want to sit outside at a brewery in the cold. But please do what you can to support our state's breweries. They need your help, just like every other local business. They're all really feeling the pinch and are doing all of this for you. So please show your support however you can, and we appreciate that. I also have to offer a shameless plug for the really cool glassware that we talked about last week. The BAM glasses are still for sale at BeerMe, BIERMI.com/store/BAM. All you have to do is select the brewery where you want to pick that glass up sometime in mid-March, and then you can select the glass that you'd like to purchase. 100% of those proceeds go back to the Brewers Association of Maryland. They will fund our ongoing support of the industry through advocacy and promotion, and they'll give us a little bit more money to help promote the events that we'll be having hopefully later this year. So please do what you can to show your support there. We know everybody's feeling it, but we need your help. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our group of panelists. First, I'm going to introduce Jane and Trey from Patuxent Brewing Company. How are you both doing? Thank you for tuning in. You guys are muted. If you can unmute, that would be great.
Hello, how you doing?
There we go.
Doing well. Thank you for tuning in this afternoon.
Well, thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
I'm looking forward to this talk. I think we're going to, like I said, I think we're going to have a lot to talk about and a lot to learn. We've got a great panelist of influencers that you guys have already talked to before we started, and I have a feeling we're going to get some great insight from them, but it's really awesome to have you here to bring the insight of ownership in a very small representation in the country. So thank you very much for being here.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Next, I'd like to introduce Courtney, also known as Black Beer Geek on Instagram. Courtney, how are you?
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Doing great. Thank you for joining this afternoon. Can't wait to learn a little bit more about what you've been doing. I've been stalking you on Instagram a little bit, and I've noticed that you've been hosting some very good beer shares, and you're getting a community together of craft beer drinkers. And I think that that's cool, and I cannot wait to hear more about that and the success you're seeing with that.
All right, thank you for having me.
Next, we've got Jackie, Curly Craft Beer Traveler. How are you? Oh, you're muted.
I sure was. Hi, how y'all doing? Very nice to meet you all and see you all today.
Also, loving your background, by the way. I think you have a lot of very cool.
This is my beer corner.
Yeah, I like it. I like it very much. And I'm looking forward to learning a little bit about the work that you guys did with that Guinness collaboration. I think that that's pretty cool. And last but not least, longer-term friend of mine, Kara Fritz, Hoppy Black Lady. How are you, Kara?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So today our talk is really going to be focused on one thing, and that is that the craft beer industry very much looks one way, and the way that it looks is a hell of a lot like me. And I think that that's no secret. I think people are starting to recognize that. It's been a big topic of conversation over the last year for the industry. And when I say the industry, I mean the Brewers Association National has been very aware of the fact that this industry lacks diversity, both in terms of the people who represent the manufacturers and the clientele. At least when you walk into a tasting room, maybe it looks that way because we know people are drinking beer at home. We don't know what everybody at home looks like. So I think that this is a great time to have this conversation. We're in the middle of celebrating February. This is Maryland Craft Beer Lovers Month, and Maryland beer is for everyone. So I think right off the bat, if we can kind of go around and have an introduction from each of you about yourselves and what draws you to this industry, and then we can kick off the talk maybe with some more topics. Trey and Jane, do you guys want to start?
All right. I'm Jane. It's Trey. And we're from Patuxent Brewing Company. And I guess just to start with, what drew me to the industry is actually the diversity between people who come into breweries. You know, we are, African Americans are starting to really pick up and come to breweries, but you see everybody else coming in. You see everybody else from all different walks of life and everything. So that's what I've loved about it, and that's what drew me into it for the most part.
And I think it's the same for me. But the other factor too was something that hit home a long time ago, and it's always stuck with me, that based on statistics, I will never make more than my mother because there is systemic racism that exists. And again, it's not like it's directly towards anyone, but it does exist. And the studies all show that as a minority, I would never make anything above what my mother or my father made. And so I really wanted to instill ownership, entrepreneurship, and making sure that we have upward economic mobility for people that look like me, for women, and for others who are underrepresented in our communities.
Those are great intros. Courtney looks like she bounced off for a second, but when she gets back in, I'll bring her up. Jackie, can you introduce yourself and tell us what you've been up to and what brings you to the industry?
Sure. So hello, everyone. My name is Jacquelyn. I go by Curly Craft Beer Traveler online. I've been a lover of craft beer for a while. And what really brought me into it was just the difference in styles. As I grew up, I only knew really one kind of beer, and that was what my grandpa drank, and that was Old Milwaukee all the time. And so as I was getting more into trying new things myself, I was able to find the beauty in the Belgian styles and Hefeweizens and just all of the different flavors that could be part of this beverage. And so I've been really happy to be able to travel to different breweries and taste what they have to offer and connect with a bunch of great people. I think whenever I go into a tap room, I always make a friend and I meet a new person. And so that's one of the beautiful things about this industry. What I've been doing over the past couple months, Courtney and I were able to do a collaboration beer with Guinness Open Gate Brewery in Baltimore. And so we created a beer called See Us. And the story behind that was really wanting to share ourselves and a piece of who we are and to bring more representation for people of color to the craft beer community. And so we did that through our See Us Brew, which is a sweet potato pie inspired brown ale. And I'm sure she'll talk a little bit more about that. But we brewed it in December. It came out in January. It's just been an awesome experience being able to share our story and share our recipe and our with other people around Baltimore, around Maryland, and around the country. So
that's awesome. Thank you for the great introduction, and I look forward to learning more about that beer. All right, Courtney just popped back in. We'll see if we can get Courtney added. Courtney, would you like to introduce yourself real quick, and then we'll get to Kara?
Hi, I'm Courtney, aka Black Beer Geek. What drew me to this industry is the fact that I really love food, and food and beer go hand in hand. I started with beer, making food, and then I would have beer left over, and craft beer is too damn expensive for me to be wasting it. So I started drinking it, and over time I started to love it. And so I'm just hoping that, I never thought in a million years that people would even care what I had to say. But I'm just glad to be able to truly influence the community that I live in and change the beer industry one brewery at a time.
That's an awesome mindset. I really appreciate you bringing that to the talk today. What were your thoughts about doing the, I don't know if you heard Jackie talking about the Guinness collaboration. What were your thoughts on that, and how was that for you? Oh, no.
Oh.
Oh.
Something's going on. We'll make
He'll
sure
be
that
back.
he gets an opportunity to share the rest of that story. And Kara, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you've been up to and how you're helping to influence craft beer?
Yeah, so my name is Kara Fritz, or Hoppy Black Lady, on social media. And so my favorite thing about craft beer, I hear a lot of echoes of my story and what I appreciate and what everyone else has already shared. I love the diversity of style. I really appreciate going to breweries. I love to go into a craft brewery and sit down at their tap room, and pre-COVID would pull up a seat at the bar and just talk to the people who were serving the beer or the people who were sitting around me. And what Jean said about people, all types of different kinds of people from different walks of life, I really appreciate that about the craft beer community, and just getting to make friends and to bond over beer, but with people who have a different perspective from me. And really, I just want to share the wonderful community and good beer with all sorts of people. And so using social media to do that and let people know where I'm going and what I'm doing, and encouraging them to come along or go check it out for themselves.
You do a very good job of documenting a wide variety of breweries in the region. So I do have to thank you for that. I can always trust from your pictures whether or not I want to be in a place.
Yes.
Well, thank you. That's trying to give people a feel for where I am, and for a sense of the different breweries' kind of personalities and styles. And so I'm glad that comes across.
I think it's working out well. Courtney, you got interrupted mid-conversation.
Yeah, I don't remember what I was saying last. I remember you asking me, what did I think about See Us? See Us was a really cool project. And, sweet potato is to Black people as pumpkin is to white people. So, I really wanted to really just bring that to light, because nobody has made a yam beer that I felt like was truly what the essence of what sweet potato pie is for us. And so I just wanted to be a part of it. And I'm so glad that it's been a part of the conversation that needed to be had.
Well, I think that's cool. And I'm very impressed. Oh my goodness, this is terrible. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to work with Courtney in the sidebar to see if there's any way that we can get a better connection set up. In the meantime, why don't we kind of address the situation of diversity in this industry? We've already kind of hit on the fact that this is something that people are aware of that needs to change in terms of representation of all people in this industry. Since everybody's drinking beer, why doesn't it look like everybody's making beer? Why doesn't it look like everybody's at a tasting room? How can we start to have that conversation, and where's a good spring off point for that?
That's deep.
Yeah, I'll take that. Well, one of the things we do here at Patuxent, we like to say we like to educate our people for the most part, because, and I forgot who actually mentioned it, but most of us, all of us, we grew up and there were only two types of beer, maybe one type of beer we all grew up with, the malt liquor and everything like that. So you have a whole generation of us who, was like, oh, beer, brings back bad memories, bad taste. I know myself in high school, I got introduced to 211, still reserved. And it was terrible, and I can't believe I drink that back then. But, when you're growing up and you're drinking beer like that, and it's just like, it's like, oh, I'm going to stay away from beer, So when we have our customers that come in who, look like us, the first thing they ask is, do you have anything other than beer? And we have to tell them that, hey, there are beer outside of what we grew up with. And that's the fun part about when we sell our flights, and they get to taste the different styles of beers, the different tastes of beer, and you see their eyes light up, and it's just like, oh, this is actually good. I never knew this, and that's one thing that we try to do here, is just to educate the masses on, hey, there's more to beer than what we're used to.
Yeah.
To that point, is there a conversation culturally within, I don't know how to phrase it the right way, and I don't want to be insensitive, but is there a conversation in the Black community where people are asking about craft product made by their neighbors rather than things that are made in larger facilities that may represent these things that they didn't like?
I think that's starting to happen, and it's because of our influencers that conversation is starting. you know, and it's because of different things now that conversation started. It's because that, you know, craft breweries are more than just a place to sell beer. It's actually another hangout spot. It's a cultural thing, you know. It's a place to be. It's hip, you know, and because it's hip, that's how that conversation starts.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what it is. It's a place where we have people that come to fellowship, right? You have people that could be wonderful CPAs, wonderful educators, hairdressers, and they're all coming and congregating here, and you get to meet them, and you can pick up services that you didn't even know was in your backyard or your neighbor. And so we want to encourage those things too. But I disagree a little bit with Jean on the fact that we've always had these conversations. It may not have been about craft beer specifically, but as far as African Americans, as far as Blacks, we've always been brewers. We've always been fermenters. So I don't necessarily agree with that. I just think that it's coming more to light now that we are having these conversations, and that we do look to our fellow brethren, you know, of color to see what they're up to see what they're making. Because we, again, want to keep that innovation flowing like we always have since, you know, past centuries and civilizations.
I think that's really important when you talk about it being like a gathering place in a community space. I think a lot of times I've gone to craft breweries that are located in places where folks would consider the hood, or, you know, it's a newly gentrified area. And so you have this place that opens, but they may not have necessarily a huge connection with the community around them. And so for me, I love when I see breweries like Suspended that are highly connected in Baltimore with the community around their brewery. When I see folks that are reaching out and making intentional, being intentional about creating connections with community organizations, outside of just like a Black is a Beautiful brew, right? So, you know, like I know Black Flag, they created a beer and donated to a local community organization. It wasn't necessarily a Black is Beautiful brew, but I feel like in many ways they're very intentional about how they connect. And especially with the project with Guinness and giving back to Job Opportunity Task Force and creating opportunities for people of color, from marginalized communities to come into the brewery and create a beer that can tell their story. So I think that's one of the conversations I see being had more about how can I connect my brewery, which for some may feel like it popped up out of nowhere, with the people that live down the street. And how do we get them into the room and at the table to have a conversation?
I think you brought up a very good point there. The idea that the community will make your place the community space rather than you self-identifying as a brewery. I am now a community space. We do talk a lot about how this industry is responsible for bringing some revitalization to places that are often neglected in towns. You know, the idea of a space that's been vacated because it's either too industrial or the foot traffic is odd for other types of businesses or whatever it might be, are things that could benefit a brewery really, really in a big way. And if they aren't conscious, I think, about understanding who their neighbors are and who's going to be joining them, then they may be kind of jumping off at the wrong point. Courtney, I wanted to extend this portion of the conversation quite a bit towards you as well. We were talking a little bit about the idea of what's the cultural shift that's happening, and where are people getting this idea to gather at breweries and use the craft beer industry as a place to come together?
Well, I think that all craft breweries are different. So that's one thing that the brewing industry doesn't recognize really and use it to their advantage. Every brewery is going to be different. So they're going to have like situations where you can have like weddings and events and different things depending on the space and things like that. And for that means that a variety of people can use the space, correct? I feel like also breweries need to understand, just like Jackie said about like Suspended and how they mirror the community that they're in. Like they welcome the community in and they are a part of the community that they're in. I think that that's the same thing as far as like breweries. I think that you can have a really cool party in a brewery because it's a open space where there's a lot of space for people to gather and have conversation and talk. There's the table, the way the tables are set up is meant for a gathering space. But for people like me who don't really want to go to the club, a brewery is a cool place for me to get the social, little bit of, social energy that I need, but I don't have to go to a club. But I want to be able to still hear good, dope music and drink good beer with cool people. So I think that's where the disconnect with the brewing industry as it is right now and what people of color are looking for going forward is how can we make these spaces like more diverse in that aspect? Is it somewhere that anybody wants to be, not just people of color, but just anybody?
Everybody.
Everybody.
So I mean, when I go into a brewery and the music is whack, I don't care how good the beer is. I'm ready to leave.
Well, hold on now. What's considered whack music now? If I put on Hall and Notes, you ain't gonna show up?
I love
I love Hall and Notes now. Don't play. I like Hall and Notes.
Okay.
The yacht rock? Hit me with the yacht rock.
And I'm saying,
and we got that channel too.
Yeah, I'm saying like if I'm a black person, I want to go. To me, the essence of what I want to create in a brewery is like the black cookout. Like I want to be able to go, everybody talk to one another. They having a good time. There's no drama. Everybody's eating, everybody's drinking. It's like a real cool vibe. And to me, I feel like that a lot of that is started with music, like picking the right kind of music for the ambiance. And so some breweries go in there and they playing like, some slow old school stuff. And it's like, bro, it's Saturday. Like I ain't got to work today. Like, I want to have a good time.
Listen, you heard her.
Look, but it's funny you actually say that because, just using us, for example, we have a lot of different people who come through here. And a lot of times, the Caucasian folks who come through, they come through for the black experience. They come through to sit and talk with us. So I hate to say it's like an experiment. I don't know, but it's like, ooh, this is the closest I'll ever probably get. Let me sit here, And one story pops to mind was what was going on with the actual riots and everything, And we had a gentleman. We always tell the story. We had a gentleman who just actually came up and said, "I want to understand you guys. I want to know why are you mad? I don't understand why you guys are mad. I just don't understand because nobody has actually." Sat down and explained it to me or explained it to me in a way that I can understand. So he got it from everybody. And literally we all sat around and we talked about our different experiences, talked about different things that happened as we grew up. And we hope that he left out of here with an understanding and maybe a change in his life, And that's the type of things and type of environment that a brewery brings.
But Courtney's right. That safe space that, no matter what color I am or no matter what my preference is with anything, we're all family at the cookout, right? So we're going to agree to disagree on some things and we're going to eat some, chicken, whatever, and drink some great brews. But so Courtney makes a great point with that. Absolutely.
Our founder, Davey, always says world peace can happen if everybody just sits down and drinks a beer or two or three. A lot of things get solved by sitting down, talking, and having a brew.
And I love to say, I like my tagline for me as Black Beer Geek is that beer can be a vehicle if we use it, just like music and sports.
Yep.
We don't use beer to our advantage. Like there's people that like beer, all shapes, sizes, colors, creeds. They live all different places. And if it's more about what different kind of beer do you drink, I had this conversation with one of the people that worked at Checker Spot. We were having a conversation at the See Us opening, and she asked me, well, what can I do as a brewery individual that works in a brewery when a black person comes in? Like, I feel like I have to be a little extra. And I'm like, no, don't be extra. Just be the same with everybody. And I feel like the best conversation is, have you ever been to this brewery before? What do you normally drink? That's for anybody. Like that don't have nothing to do with what color I am or how long I've been drinking beer or anything. Like that's a general question that you can ask to anybody. And then it's less about making everybody feel different and more about treating everybody the same. Like I'm not trying to get extra treatment. I'm trying to be the same as everybody else. So
you're trying to get a beer.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to drink because I'm thirsty.
There's something called paradoxical intent. And it's almost like, okay, well, if you focus so much on something, you can actually it can actually be a detriment, right? So don't just invite me out on Wu-Tang Wednesday. I like rock. I like, classic. I like whatever, heavy metal, classical, whatever. Invite me because, I like beer and I like to enjoy good company.
So I think that all of that was really helpful to set up kind of an idea that there really should not be a different approach to drawing in everybody in your community to the brewery. It should be a cognizant approach that the community is represented by more than one individual, and that the idea is to bring everybody in. And I think we kind of hit a little bit on one of the pitfalls, which is either the overcompensation or the idea that we're not doing enough to embrace, so we have to like be extra, like you said, Courtney. Like I think that that's something that a lot of business owners who may not know how to address diversity in their businesses may go that way the first time. That might be the gut instinct is what can I do to put it in your face that we're friendly and we're open and we want you to be here.
I started laughing because I work in higher education in my 9 to 5, and it just reminds me of the diversity brochure. And you have like the handpicked, one Asian American, one Black person, with the guitar next to the tree at the quad on campus, and
I know that brochure.
Yes, we've seen them. And just have a conversation, just meet people, just connect with people. It doesn't have to be like this well-crafted brochure, or you have to show that you're doing exactly this, you're doing exactly that, but that you're connected. And that people in the community, that if your brewery that you opened is in a neighborhood that has a certain demographic and population, do you know community leaders in your neighborhood? Have you met with, folks that are down the street and connect with them and invited them in just to use your space for their meetings? And I think, which is really great. I work at Ministry of Brewing part-time in Fells Point. And so when they were coming there and having this huge sanctuary, right, and just offering up that space to community organizations to come and have their meetings and have a beer while you're here, or don't have a beer, but you can use the space in the back and you can have your meeting, and you can connect with us, and we want to be here to support you, whether it's about the beer or not.
I just wanted to run through a couple of the comments. Rob Goss from Whitey's, our friend Rob, said hello. He said that this is a great talk.
Hey, Rob, what's up?
Rob.
One of my favorite white people of all. I'm just
Ty
being
from
real.
Hysteria is excited to watch later. He said, "F yeah, he can't watch right now, but he can't watch." I did broadcast everybody's names. I'll do it again a couple of minutes ago because Nick in Facebook said that he missed all the names in the introduction, but he wanted to check in with everyone and start to follow everyone because he thinks that this is very valuable. Amethyst at Checker Spot said that we need to diversify the playlist. Not everybody wants to listen to Fish or jam bands. I'm not sure if Amethyst is trying to give me a hard time because I am a huge Fish fan.
Hold up now.
Hey, certain times during the day when you're working a long shift, it gets you through.
That's right.
Don't put Fish in this, but yeah, that's true.
But yes, I agree. There is a lot to a diverse playlist. And Claude Mackey, who works with Grow and Fortify and helps Brewers Association, Maryland Wineries Association, brings up a really good point that I think is kind of in line with everything that you all have said, which is as a person of color coming into a tasting room, you have to feel comfortable when you enter. So from the perspective of influencers, I'd like to ask you three first, what things make everybody comfortable? What things are people not doing the right way, and what can they be doing the right way?
Tag me in. I'm going first.
All right.
So for me, visibility. Like I need to be able to see somebody Black that works there that makes a difference. And I'm not talking about a bar back. I'm not talking about somebody that clean up. I'm talking about a Black beer tender. You see what I'm saying? I think that's super important, and I think also just like going back to the music, I think also I don't like when I go to a brewery and I go to the bar to order a drink and there was somebody else that was there to order a drink and you feel like you need to address me first because I'm Black. Instead of addressing them, that's doing too much. That's being extra, just so you know. You need to do it in the order that we came into. And then whatever you said to them is what you're supposed to say to me. It can't be no different. So that's why I said, you know, have you ever been to this brewery? What do you normally drink? Is a general statement that you can say to anybody. You know, like, so I think for me, like, suspended is to me the essence of what every brewery, that every Black person that I know that like beer would love to go in. Suspended does a really good job of that. They also are very conscious about making sure they have beer on the menu that everyone can afford, which is like super important about accessibility and things like that. So I think if you just look at the fine-tuned things that you're doing, it's small little things that can make all the difference as far as me as a Black drinker.
That's awesome and very insightful. Thank you for that. Any other thoughts on the idea of being comfortable or feeling as though the fit is for you as a part of everybody rather than something that's designed for you?
So for me, I don't want every brewery to feel the same, right? Like I love going into breweries and places and being somewhere that's a little bit different than what might be my default. I'm all for like suggesting to diversify a playlist, but don't diversify every playlist just to what you think is kind of a stereotypical, this is what Black people like to listen to. You know, I think people should be their true and authentic selves, right? So what's the personality of your brewery? Like lean hard into who you are and what your brand is. Don't change the playlist just because I walk into the room. One thing that happens a lot to me is an assumption that I don't know anything about craft beer, right? Because I might not look like the normal clientele. And so this kind of goes along with what Courtney is saying, right? But I'll go and I'll hear the conversation that happens with the white guy before me. And then I'll pull up to the bar and the conversation will be an immediate explanation of styles of beer or recommendations of like, this is dark, this is sweet, this is what I think I've pigeonholed, Black beer drinkers into, with unsolicited explanations of styles of beer. So don't assume that I don't know anything about craft beer just because I don't look like your normal clientele that has come in. So I think Courtney's question is a great one. That's just kind of a general, I could ask this to anyone. I'm not switching up my behavior or the information that I give based on the color of someone's skin. I'm not making assumptions about them or about their interest or knowledge based off the color of their skin. But I think the best thing that a brewery can do is just be genuine and authentic and welcoming of whomever comes in, and don't alter your behavior because it's someone who looks different than your normal clientele.
I think that piece about appearance is very important because we had this conversation 2 weeks ago and folks were saying, I appear to be a woman and I get this type of treatment. I'm certain that there are people that have an idea that the way that you look is going to determine what you want to experience. And I think that overcoming that with just everybody is the same look, right? When you walk in, the only thing that anybody should care about is the money that's in your wallet. If you have money to spend on our beer, I want you here and I want to sell you a beer.
Well, a lot of that is just good customer service in general.
Well, right? It's a
basic, just great customer service. When someone walks in, greet them. When they sit down at the bar, even if you're busy with the customer, hey, welcome. This is how you get the menu. I'll be right with you. Finish up with your customer. When you talk to them, hey, what kind of beer do you drink? Have you been here before? Exactly what she said. It's all about just creating a welcoming experience. And I just want to echo what Kara said. I don't want you to change. If when I walk in, I know which brewery I go to, and there's probably going to be a lot of rock. I don't mind rock. I just want to have a great beer and be around great people and have good conversations. And I go to each brewery for an experience that's not the same that I'm going to get somewhere else. And I just want to be treated with kindness and respect and receive great customer service that makes me want to come back. Even if you go a place and the beer is okay, I think people will return if they're treated well. Even if they don't really like it that much, you might still bring someone there because you had a great experience. And I know we can sit here and order food in and have a drink and be around good people in a good place and feel welcome because of the great customer service that you receive.
And Jackie, I think what you said about that experience, right? I think when I'm thinking about introducing people who don't normally drink craft beer to craft beer, that's what I'm looking for, right? I'm trying to think I'm going to introduce them to a brewery where I know they're going to get a variety of styles, but where I know they'll be treated with kindness and respect. They'll have a good experience. That environment will be fun. It might be different than what they're normally used to, but it'll be something that where I can say, hey, I know we'll come here and we'll walk away here feeling good about ourselves and feeling good about the experience that we just had.
And then, they kind of bring up another point. Kara, I think I touched on this with you before. As far as the Black identity goes, it's wide and far spanning, right? So don't count us out for, St. Patty's Day because we have Black Irish, right? Don't count us out for these things because, yes, I'm Black, but we do have ethnicities and we have cultures that don't just fall in line with being Black. So that's something to keep in mind as well. My daughter isn't just Black. She's African American and Filipino. My sister isn't just Black. She's really Black and Hungarian, Northern African. So we can use the term Black, but you also need to keep in mind that we do come from a very rich, different, very rich cultures. So don't count us out for those holidays as well.
Yeah, different rich cultures. And then each one of us has a different way of expressing who we are as a Black person.
Yes.
And so there's a lot of diversity in that as well.
And it just so happens that today's conversation does feature guests that are African American or Black, however they like to identify or use the terminology. But we did invite a couple of folks on who were breweries in planning, who are representing Latin-owned breweries, weren't able to join us, and a couple of other influencers that represent some other backgrounds, LGBTQ plus, just for diversity as a larger conversation. I think it's very fitting that this being Black History Month, we have a panel of Black beer fans who can share their thoughts and make this about one part of a larger conversation, which I think we will continue to have these conversations further down the road. And we're not coming up on our closing out time. I'm not using that as a summary. I just wanted to interject that there is a lot more to this diversity conversation than just what does a Black person want when they come into a brewery. I think that was great for Trey to bring that up because without that view, things are going to get very singular very quickly.
I also think it's really important also to interject that when I think of the brewing industry and I think of wanting to be less performative, right? And they want to show that they actually care about the communities that they are in. We're in Baltimore right now. So Baltimore is mostly a Black city. And there's more people of color here than there are of any other color people, right? So if you're helping the community, you are also helping Black people. So I feel like it's not one or the other. If you're doing things for the community, you are also helping Black people and people of color, then it's not performative, it's actually genuine because you're helping the community that you're in. So I think instead of looking at it as Black, white, or a different color, I think you need to look at it from a community standpoint because like Kara was talking about experience, like Black Flag, they weren't really on my radar like that, but Jackie loves them. And so anytime she want to go drink a beer, I already know we about to go to Black Flag. And when I go there, I feel like the people they're in, all the people that work behind the bar, they make me feel like I'm just as important as anybody else. They don't treat me any different, even though I'm Black Beer Geek and I'm somewhat somebody now, like they don't care. They just want me to have a good time. So I love that about them. And I think that we need more of that in the industry, period.
I think to your point earlier, Courtney, I was going to kind of use your point about seeing somebody that kind of looks like you or kind of breaks up the monotony behind the bar. I wanted to use that as a launching point to kind of discuss how breweries can find candidates in their communities who may represent more diverse thoughts, looks, representations? Because it seems like the default position, and I'm not speaking on behalf of any specific brewery or anything like that, but industry-wide, one of the things that comes up is it's difficult to find diverse people to work here because either they whoever they are not interested in being in this industry, or they don't have the background or the affinity for this industry. What from your perspectives, I mean, you all bring different professional backgrounds, you're all bringing different experiences to this conversation. From your perspectives, what can breweries be doing to ensure that a more diverse population is seeing their job postings or is hearing about the opportunity to be involved, or how to get their foot in the door with this industry?
Connect with community organizations. I'll keep saying that.
Yeah.
There's plenty of nonprofits that are looking to get people into jobs. There are churches in the community. There are synagogues and mosques in the community. Other faith-based communities. There are people that you can reach out to when you come, and build connections with and have conversations with to let them know what you're doing, and the fact that you're going to, be looking for people to work at your brewery. So I think just being intentional about that. I mean, we can all just post a job to Indeed. But it's different when you go to the nonprofit that's down the street and say, hey, I noticed you all, have impact and reach in this community. We have a couple openings. Do you mind posting them on your website? So that we can connect with other people that we may not necessarily reach through the Indeed, because they may have a connection or a person that they know personally that they can just hand that job description to, who may want to walk over and apply. So just get connected with your local nonprofits and community organizations. And your local community leaders, and they'll help spread the word for you.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, even the most world-renowned scientists, if they're going to work on anything or do anything, they're looking for the people on the ground, the people that live there, the people that know that land, right? Mm-hmm. So if you can't find the talent, I'll be blunt, that's because you didn't look. I'm just gonna be blunt. There are numerous of us who are dedicated to the STEAM life. And we don't take that STEAM life for granted. So if you can't find that talent, it's because you didn't look.
Yeah. I also think that, and going back to what Jackie said about reaching out to the community, like say, for instance, you're a brewery like Peabody Heights is in Waverly, and there's a barbershop like right down the road from them. Barbershop is a pillar in the community, in the Black community. If you're looking for Black people, they in the barbershop on Saturday. You can go in there and say, hey, do you drink beer? What kind of beer do you drink? I got a couple openings. I don't know if you're looking for a job. Can I post this at the barbershop? This and that and the other. Mm-hmm. Somebody gonna see it and possibly apply for that job. And then she also said churches, churches are really, have been a pillar in the Black community for a long time, and as well as in other POC communities as well. And that's a good place to go. Say, hey, I know this is a church and, it's churchy and everything, but, we got a job opening right now. And I really would love to post this. And do you have anybody that might want to work in the STEM field? It's all about how you market it, because technically
colleges and universities too. Sorry.
Yeah, working in brewing is a STEM field. That's working in a STEM field. It's the sciences. So it's all in how you frame it. You got to positively frame it. You also can't just bring them in for a bottom line position and then you don't have any plan for what you're going to do going forward. Nobody wants to continue to be a beer tender forever. They might want to do something else. Are you going to show them how to brew? Are you going to give them opportunities to learn things like that? Interns, all that kind of stuff can be super helpful for getting people of color in breweries to work. Like, I know a guy right now in North Carolina. He's a Black guy. He has his Cicerone, and he can't get a job mostly because people are just like, well, that's not really our market. And to me, that's racism. Like, you can't do that. Like, you can't tell somebody they can't work there because of a market. So if he has the ability to do it, you should give him an opportunity to interview, period.
And I think the Nielsen reported what 97% of 90% plus of African Americans, that's such a long word, of Black people listen to the radio.
Yep.
So, you know, that first thing we did was connect with WHUR,
Got on there
WPGC.
as soon as possible.
You know, we don't have marketing dollars, but what can we give you in gift cards to market us and to let people know we're here? And the same thing could go for jobs. They're constantly listing jobs that are available. And it seems silly, but that's if 90% of us are listening to the radio, then that's where you should also be posting this information, because they will disperse it for you.
Yeah, 92Q, they have the job board. They talk about jobs every day that are looking for people that are hiring. So yeah, the radio is a great way to reach out to folks.
And using us. I mean, we influencers, and I happen to be Black, so I probably know other Black people that want to work in your brewery. So
no way.
If I drink in your, if I'm in your bar, at your bar one day, and you like, hey, I got this job opening, this and that and the other. Do you know anybody Black that might want to work here, or a person of color? They can't technically say that, but they can be like, hey, you know somebody that knows somebody, and I might know somebody that knows somebody. Like, that's just what it is.
And you know,
I wanted to point out that if anybody is watching and is curious about how to get a foot into the industry or is seeking out qualified candidates, the idea of qualified being some big barrier in this industry, apparently. If you're seeking out people who are interested in working in this industry, I did share the Beer Culture with a K, beerculture.com/job board. They're doing an excellent job right now of connecting brewery jobs to people who are interested in working hard in a brewery. I would highly recommend posting jobs there. And if you are seeking a job, go look. There are tons of breweries throughout the country who are seeking very driven and excited people who want to be a part of this industry, who want to work and do something fun. So this idea of job boards, whether it's at a radio station or through something grassroots like Beer Culture, check those things out, because I think they're hugely, hugely impactful. Where are some things, we've talked a lot about kind of what can be done. Where are some things that the industry looks like it's pointed in the right direction? Are there examples of that are worth talking about, so that other people might be able to say, hey, that's something that I can incorporate into my my experience at my brewery? Or Suspended has gotten a lot of great compliments today, and I think they're doing an excellent job. But are there any examples of what either groups in the industry or groups of breweries are doing together to really make a difference here? Or is it still kind of like we're waiting on somebody to make a move?
Yeah.
I would say here locally down in our area, the Southern Maryland area, is that everyone's talking. All the different breweries are talking, you know, and they know, hey, we're the new kids on the block. Yeah, it's always a certain competition, but it's like, all right, we're going to help you out, you know, as much as we can, you know. And I just feel like, you know, that camaraderie, at least in that aspect, you know, they don't want to see you fail. Nobody wants to see anybody fail. So just people just talking and being inviting, you know, you come up there, it's like, oh, okay, hey, you know, welcoming, you know. And it's like that with all the craft breweries that we've ever visited, you know. And just that aspect of being welcoming in that part, you know, it's like, hey, you know, we want to see you guys succeed, because what you guys are doing is great.
Yeah, definitely has been access to resources. Right. You know, it can be expensive to make sure that you have the access to those resources that you need. And I will say, even before we got started, when we were at the farmers market, Checker Spot reached out to us to make sure that we had information that we needed. Heavy Seas reached out to us to make sure that we had the information that we needed. Mully's is constantly still checks in on us to make sure that we have the resources that we need, because you know, we want this area to thrive, this local economy to thrive just as much as they do. We don't want to take away jobs or take away business. We want to add to that, right? So, and I think them understanding that when we were just becoming instituted was instrumental for us.
Because they understood, at least in our area, that we're the first ones. It hasn't been done down here in Charles County. It hasn't been done. So they know they want the environment to grow too. They want the culture to grow too. You know, so that's why it's important. That's why I think it's amazing that they show camaraderie in that aspect, in terms of, hey, we don't want to see you guys fail, you know.
And in turn, it's the same for us,
Yeah,
right? Because
exactly.
they know you're not going to just employ Black people.
Yep.
You're not going to just, seek out minority support. This is going to be, a beautiful place for
We
everyone.
want
to come in.
everybody.
And truly grow a larger community.
Absolutely.
Right.
I
I think
also
conversations like this are important towards that end, and I think I would encourage breweries to do that. Right. So, do you have regular customers who are minorities? Have conversations with them. Find out, what do they like about coming to your brewery, and what could you do different? Find ways to learn from your regulars, from local people around you. It's not an overnight thing. I think it takes investment, and I'll go back to that authentic, genuine relationship. And you have to put in the work. And so it might be setting aside pride a little bit. It might be willing to admit that you don't know, and be willing to learn and to ask questions, and to ask questions of yourself, and do maybe a little self-examination, to be at a place where you can move forward and make change in a sustainable way.
I also think to piggyback on what Kara said, leveraging those relationships. I mean, See Us was born from a relationship of Jackie with Holly through her wife. Like, that's how that came to be. And then she asked me as her friend, I hope her favorite. But anyway, like just like a really cool, environment for me to come in and do it with her. So I think it's all about leveraging relationships. Like, I'm hoping that she'll leverage her relationship with Black Flag. I have a really strong relationship with Waverly. I think we have these places we love to go because of these authentic experiences that Kara mentioned. But what are we doing with that relationship that we created? Are we making it so other people that look like us can go in there and drink? Because it's cool for us to go every weekend and chill and have a good time. But if we're not really using that and leveraging that relationship so that we can push the movement forward, then we're not truly influencers. Like, that's not what that means. The word influence means to change people's behavior. For me, I'm trying to change racist ass people. Like, that's what I'm trying to change.
I think that's an influence that everybody can be supportive of.
Yeah, I mean, Kara's absolutely right. I got Jean taking notes now because, again, we are a brewery, and just because we're Black doesn't mean we know. We can't speak for the whole world of the Black experience.
Mm-hmm.
So these conversations are absolutely instrumental so that we can know and do better as well.
Well, as we've been chatting, a few more things are coming up. Firm, the guys there really enjoyed the comment about the barbershop being the place to find people hanging out, and how it is a pillar of the community. So good one there. That gave them a laugh. And then they said, since you seem to know everyone, Courtney, if you know anyone who knows somebody who's looking for canning experience or past canning experience, send them to Firm.
All right.
Here we
Look me
go.
up on IG. Have a conversation with me. I'll hook you up, man. I'll hook you up.
Black Locust Hops Farm really has a wonderful point here, and that is that they would love to see more diversity on the agricultural end and the growing end as well. And they would love some input on how they can reach out to a larger portion of the community to get people interested and introduced to what they're doing.
And I think you said something earlier about just grassroots organizations like beer culture. I'm a part of an organization online, Craft Women Connect. They post jobs all the time. Even like connecting with folks from Fresh Fest, and they have a very active page even outside of the actual festival. So they're constantly posting jobs, constantly posting articles, and putting it out there to the larger community. And Fresh Fest is a fantastic festival for those that have gone or haven't. It's a Black beer festival out in Pittsburgh. And they brought in so many Black brewers to that, but also Black influencers, Black craft beer lovers, people of all walks of life, whether it was on the growing side, whether it was in the production, owning breweries, just working at breweries, helping with marketing and distribution. And so connecting with organizations like that and those smaller grassroots folks will help to spread the word for you as well. And just being intentional about how you reach out and make a genuine connection with them, I think can help to get you more access to folks in those areas.
You
Well,
want to grow.
My first thought on the agriculture side is you can hook them young with agriculture, right? So are there opportunities to, connect with students and show them that there's a career pathway there within agriculture, and you can't have a under 21-year-old working in your brewery, but you can certainly teach them how to grow the ingredients that go into good beer.
That's true.
We've heard a
Also-
lot of examples. We do a lot of work with Grow and Fortify with value-added agriculture throughout the state. That's our main mission. And it just so happens that all three of the state's craft beverage manufacturing industries are value-added. So that's how we get involved. But one of the things that we hear often is when you take people from an experience or an environment where they don't see the outdoors or they don't see farms, and you put them there, and they get this click, that love is something that they embrace forever, and they don't have that disappear. They stay engaged if they're given the right opportunity. So maybe this idea of finding young people and bringing them out to a hop farm as a field trip or something like that might be a very interesting thing to do, and that might be a great way to grow your diversity in the next generation of hop farmers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Does
get
the
some high school
University of
kids
Maryland
to come
still
work
have
with you
that
for the summer.
That's it.
Yeah.
Does UMD still have the hop expansion program, or have they finished that out with their results?
I think that they're still going to keep that running at the operations that they have throughout the state, but I'm not sure how much more experimentation they intend to do. We'll see as time goes on. I think that they're learning quite a lot, but I don't know that. I don't know what the future is going to look like for that.
They also have
Or
an IG
Baltimore-
page. They have an IG page that's called @BlackMenWithGardens. So basically, it's a whole page of all these different black men that live all over the world, and all they do is grow stuff. So I'm sure that there's somebody in Maryland that would love to be a part of this.
Mhm.
So it's a really cool page to follow. There's some eye candy for you ladies there too.
Oh, not all ladies stop it.
And we have all these urban
Farms. Yeah.
farms, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I have like 3, within the PG County area that I'm living in. So there are definitely ways, like Courtney is saying, I'm checking that out later, to connect. I will be connecting. I'm gonna mute myself.
Trey, one of the things that has been consistent in the conversations you and I have had is the sense of ownership and entrepreneurship. We talked about a lot of the things that get in the way for proliferation of women-owned operations, access to capital, the ability to find somebody who's going to be a truthful and honest lender. I know that all of those things extend to the communities of color. I think the bigger question that I have is, at what point does an industry like this seem accessible to a future owner or entrepreneur if they don't see people that look like them already in it? Is there a way to encourage people to take that leap and say, I can make myself an individual that represents this industry rather than needing to look for examples, I guess?
Mentorship
program. It doesn't unless you have that, like you're saying, that mentorship, the support and funding for things like Fresh Fest, which I tell everyone all the time. That was my first festival. I didn't go to the Great American Beer Festival. I couldn't afford it. I didn't go, you know what I mean? So that was my first experience. And because of that, I saw Black and brown people, women, people who identified as Latino, whatever you may be, they were all there in that space, loving, having a funky time. And so in my mind, because that was my very first experience, of course I can do this. Absolutely, I can do this. And even if you don't give me the capital, they did it. Why can't I? So, I don't think there is any other way to do it except for seeing people like yourself, particularly in leadership roles or ownership roles. There are a lot of socioeconomic issues that just cannot be resolved unless we have upward mobility, health issues, because I might have Medicare, but does that hospital that's 2 minutes from my house take my insurance? It goes so deep when it comes to something that could actually be alleviated if you do have more ownership. That could curb a lot of the spending that we have to do now because we don't have ownership when it comes to minorities and people of color and underrepresented communities. So it can't look like anything unless I see myself. And that's for a little girl of, of any race, creed, or color.
We are rolling up on the hour. I think that this is definitely going to be the first part of a multi-part conversation about this, because I think there is a whole lot more to discuss. I think we've barely scratched the surface on all of the things that we can talk about regarding this topic. And I hope that I can reach out and get all of you back on, because I love your perspective and your positivity towards this whole ordeal in this industry, and how much you're showing your support to these businesses. Before we leave, I want to just kind of ask, what are you guys planning on doing for the rest of February, and what are you going to be doing this weekend?
I'm going to Patuxent Brewing Company tomorrow.
And you're bringing back 6-packs for Jackie, right?
I guess.
I told you what time I had to work tomorrow, and you plan to go at a different time. So you gotta bring me beer.
Ain't nobody wait till 3:30 to drink a beer, girl. It's Saturday. I want to drink all day.
I'll probably go to Black Flag again because I live there, I think, part-time. And then if you are around, if folks want to stop by Ministry on Sunday, I will be working Ministry and pouring beer. So come on by and grab a pint.
I'm going to throw everybody's handles up one more time, just so everybody can follow you. Everybody that's joined us on this panel this afternoon has excellent content. They're bringing really cool stories to the industry and to the community of craft beer that we have here in Maryland. And we're very fortunate to have all of these wonderful individuals as part of our extended beer family. This is wonderful. John with Union would like to know what brewers can do better to meet people of color where they are. We're in their community, and they are in their community and in their backyard. So how do we introduce this new experience to them if they may not have had it before? And I think we can leave on that. If you guys want to offer an answer to that, I think that's a really great question. Rather than getting them to come to us, how do we meet them where they are?
There's that neighborhood black bar that's down the street. You got to go in there, take a few brews in there, let them taste stuff, ask them what they think, ask them what they normally drink, watch what they drinking, liquor-wise, beer-wise, wine-wise. Start like that. I'm constantly converting people. I really love converting my friends over to beer drinkers, making people fat with me. I'm enjoying that. But I feel like that's a really good starting place, going down to the bar and just saying, hey, well, what kind of beer do you carry in here? Well, we are brewery near here, and we carry this, and you should try this and this and that and the other, and just open them up to it. Because I feel like that's reaching out to the community, but it's also marketing your beer, and it's also building a communication, open line of communication with people in your community. So I think that's the best place to start.
And I think I've said
show up at
go ahead.
Show up at community events.
Yes.
Whether they are beer related or not. And develop those relationships and become a presence in the community.
And connecting with your community leaders. There are people that are pillars of the community. There are organizations that are pillars in their community that have probably been there for a long time. And if you're new and you're coming in, build relationships with those people. Offer up your space for them to come in and host an event during your off hours, if you can, and just build genuine relationships. And when you build genuine relationships, those other connections will start to follow.
100%.
Well, thank you all very much for the very frank, candid, and valuable conversation. I very much appreciate all of your input. You were all wonderful, and you brought a lot to this conversation. So thank you.
Thanks.
And thank you for being
Thank you.
open
Thank
to
you.
having a conversation, not being scared, and we appreciate that as well.
That's why we're here.
Absolutely.
We're doing everything we can to make this industry awesome for everybody. So thank you all very much. If you're tuning in, please go and follow our guests, find out what they've been up to, check out all of the cool pictures they're taking, the cool stories they're telling, the great beers that they're making. Check it all out. See what's going on in Maryland's beer industry more widely than what we just see 99% of the time, according to the Brewers or to the Beer Advocate article. And for the rest of the folks that are out there watching, please keep supporting your Maryland breweries this weekend. If you would like one of our cool, awesome glasses, I have Eddie's glass right here. I'm enjoying the beer out of it. Please beer me.
Oh yeah.
Everybody was like, ooh.
rmi.com/store/beer. These glasses can be yours, and all the funds that we raise through the sale of these glasses will come back to the Brewers Association of Maryland, will help us to have more conversations like this, help us make a bigger impact on the community, and help us elevate craft beer throughout the states. Thank you all very much. See you soon.
Thanks. Be safe, everybody.
See, Jim, you invited to the Black Cookout.